For centuries, Africa has been called weak, colonized, exploited, divided. Its people were enslaved, its resources were stolen, its history was distorted. The world looked at Africa and saw poverty, but what they failed to see was a sleeping giant. And now, that giant is beginning to rise. The giant was never dead. Let us be clear, Africa was never truly defeated. Before colonialism, Africa had powerful kingdoms, universities, advanced trade systems, science, architecture, and civilization. From ancient Egypt to Mali, Songhai, Kush, Ethiopia, Benin, and Great Zimbabwe, Africa was already shaping history while much of the world was still emerging. The giant was not destroyed. The giant was interrupted. Colonialism did not just steal land, it attacked African identity, African confidence, African unity. The mission was psychological as much as economic. Africans were taught to doubt themselves, to worship foreign systems, to depend on outsiders. The giant was chained mentally, and perhaps that was the greatest weapon of all. But history took a turn. Voices began to rise. Voices like Marcus Garvey, W.E.B. Du Bois, Kwame Nkrumah, Thomas Sankara. These men understood something powerful. Africa's problem was not lack of potential. Africa's problem was disunity and dependency, and they began awakening the giant. 1957 changed everything. Ghana became the first sub-Saharan African nation to gain independence, and when Kwame Nkrumah declared freedom, it sent shockwaves across the continent. One by one, African nations rose. The giant was opening its eyes. Colonialism did not just steal land, it attacked African identity, African confidence, African unity. The mission was psychological as much as economic. Africans were taught to doubt themselves, to worship foreign systems, to depend on outsiders. The giant was chained mentally, and perhaps that was the greatest weapon of all. But let's speak honestly, the giant is rising, but the giant is still wounded. Africa remains rich in resources, yet many people remain poor. Why? Because the battle changed form. Colonialism became economic control, political interference, debt dependency, resource exploitation. The chains became invisible. Yet despite the struggles, something is changing. African youth are building businesses, creating technology, telling African stories, reconnecting with African identity. Across the continent, innovation is growing. Confidence is rising. Pan-Africanism is returning. The diaspora is reconnecting. African culture is influencing the world. Music, fashion, art, ideas. The giant is no longer asking for permission to exist. But hear this clearly, the greatest battle is not for Africa's gold, not for its oil, not for its land. The greatest battle is for the African mind, because once a people believe in themselves, they become unstoppable. This is why Pan-Africanism matters. It is not hatred of others, it is restoration of self. Africa cannot rise divided. 54 nations moving separately will always struggle against global powers moving strategically. This was the warning of Nkrumah. Africa must unite. Not just politically, economically, mentally, strategically, because divided strength becomes weakness. The youth are the giant. The real giant is not governments alone. The giant is the African people. The giant is the young innovator in Lagos, the farmer in Tanzania, the activist in Burkina Faso, the entrepreneur in Nairobi, the student in Accra, the artist in Johannesburg. Africa's greatest resource is not minerals, it is its people, and now the world is paying attention. Why? Because Africa is the future. Youngest population on Earth, massive natural wealth, growing markets, cultural influence expanding globally. The same continent once dismissed is now being courted by global powers. Why? Because the giant is moving again. But rising is not enough. A giant without direction becomes dangerous. A giant without unity becomes unstable. Africa must avoid corruption, tribal division, blind dependency, leadership failure, because the future can still be lost. Imagine an Africa trading within itself, producing for itself, defending its interests, educating its children in truth, controlling its resources, speaking with one voice. That is the Africa the fathers of Pan-Africanism dreamed of. Not an Africa begging, but an Africa leading. For too long the African story was told by others, but now, Africa is telling its own story, and despite centuries of slavery, colonization, exploitation, and division, the giant survived, and today, the giant arises. The question is no longer whether Africa can rise. The question is, will Africans unite long enough to fulfill their destiny? Because history is changing, and the giant is arising. If you believe Africa's best days are ahead, comment below. Like this video, subscribe for more Pan-African content, because the rise of Africa has only just begun.